Hi, everybody. This is John Farian with Live Large Universe, and I am extremely excited to be here tonight with Rhys Gardner from New Zealand. This is a first, Rhys. So, how are you doing? All the way, is it appropriate? I know it's kind of cliche, but do I get to say down under? Does that apply to New Zealand also, or is that just an Australian thing?
It tends to be Australian, but people get confused with Australia and New Zealand all the time. We
I,
don't get
I
offended.
I know, I know. So what's the appropriate thing to say? Like, how's it going over in New Zealand today? Is there a cliche that we can use, or is it just how's things going in New Zealand?
Well, I like the way you say New Zealand for a start. It's pretty cool.
Am I saying it
Yeah,
wrong?
no, it's good.
Okay.
I like the Zealand. It's cool. Kiwi Land.
Kiwi land.
Uh, yeah, uh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe we need a new nickname.
Let's just invent something right here on the spot. But while we're doing that inventing, you think of something fun. While we do that, I'm going to call out and let people know who's watching here that jump in. Let us know where you're watching from. And so I'm excited to see tonight how many people we have from the U.S. watching, how many people we might have from New Zealand watching. But one person that we both know mutually, who's the first one to chime in, Mr. John Miller. I believe he's still in Colorado. So, John Miller, thank you so much for jumping in. I know you're a big fan of Reese's, and I'm a big fan of yours, and I know you're a big fan of mine. So, the mutual respect here is amazing. And so, I know we're going to get into this tonight. So let us know where you're watching from. I see Snowmobile, Wisconsin, our buddy up in Wisconsin. He's chiming in now. Let us know, jump in there. And please, everybody, consider sharing the show out tonight, too. So as we get the show rolling and as we share the show out, you guys will be eligible to win. I'll do a quick shout out saying, I will ship within the United States to the winners. I'm not probably going to be able to ship it to New Zealand, but either way, let's encourage people to share this out. And if you do, we'll enter you in to win this Kokanee dry bag. It's a $35 value. Mountain Lab is the sponsor of the show tonight again, and just want to say thank you for that. But really appreciate everybody tuning in and watching tonight, and we're going to have a amazing discussion around virtual reality, around motorsports safety, the tech world a little bit, and all of it, how all of it comes colliding together in a literal and virtual way. So pleasure to have you on the show tonight, Rhys.
Yeah, thanks, John. Good to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So you and I were introduced by a mutual friend. Why don't you tell us a little bit about our friend Kristen and how maybe you initially got introduced with her, or how you got connected with her?
Dude, it's pretty random. Uh, Going back a few years, Kristen added me on LinkedIn. This is probably 5 years ago, actually.
Okay.
And I thought, who is this lady? She was sort of listed as being involved in the RideSafe Foundation and child safety and things like that. Didn't think much of it. And then just started this year, we were getting ready for some meetings around ATV safety in New Zealand, around agriculture. And I thought, I was actually mowing the lawn at home, and I thought, I'll send Kristen a message on LinkedIn, and sent that through. And very quickly she came back and said, how soon can you jump on a call? So we did that the next morning, and she said, "You realise that 2 days ago, a very large organisation asked if virtual reality could be useful in ATV safety,
Wow.
which is kind of mind blowing." And yeah, we got on that call, and it was a very long chat. And after hearing Kristen's story around the effect on the family and stuff of the accident that she talks about, uh, I sort of felt that we didn't have an option to just ignore that. So I sort of went back in and told my partner. I said to her, "Look, we're going to do something in the US around this stuff."
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's amazing. And, speaking for myself here, I'm a big believer in divine intervention. And I think, we all are on this collision course in the universe, and it's all meant to be to some degree. I guess that's how I think about the world and how it all comes up. And, myself, having met Kristen before, having shared her story on my episode, my show before, other folks on this, here watching, like John Miller, he's been on my show before, and we've talked about various things in the past, too. And I love how all of our network continues to grow, how we continue to get introduced to each other, how we continue to help each other and support each other, and how so many of us out there in the world are passionate about, taking care of those others around us, right? Like this passion that you have to take your, your your technology passion, your motorsports passion, and your passion for humanity, and that big heart of yours to be able to invest in this kind of a program. Kristen shared with me that a lot of for us to get to where we are, that what we're going to talk about tonight, you have invested a tremendous amount of personal finances through your company to be able to get us to the point we're at now, that we're hoping to be able to, like, sell the product eventually, recoup it over time. But it's a, it takes a very incredible individual to make that kind of an investment, knowing that they're investing in other people out there in the universe. So I appreciate that.
But dude, we don't have a choice. Like, and if you're in a position to do something about a problem like that, uh, what else are we going to do? Like,
I love it.
I don't think I could, if we just turned around and said, "Oh, that's a nice story," and that was quite an interesting moment, and some tears were shed.
Now I'm gonna
Oh,
go back to mowing the lawn.
yeah,
I'm gonna go back to
don't
mowing
worry
the
about
lawn.
it. Yeah,
Awesome,
so
awesome.
in some ways, our world was turned up a little bit upside down by that, but ultimately in a good way. And we had the chance to commit to coming over to Oshkosh and be at the Let's Ride Expo and engage with that. And
Very
I
cool.
I probably went back to the team that morning after that conversation and said, okay, everything we're building right now, we've got 7 weeks to build some prototypes and some concepts and take them to the US. And I feel sorry for the team because that can happen.
That's awesome. So I just want to do a quick shout out again to some of the folks who've joined us here in the last few minutes. We've got Adam Harden is here from Wisconsin. Of course, John Miller we already talked about. Matt Thomas is here from Washington State, nearby me. Randy is here as part of the Wisconsin ATV and UTV Association in Wisconsin. And so those are the folks who are here joining us so far today that have at least commented. Anybody else who's here watching, please go in, comment us, and let us know where you're watching from. And everybody encourage you to share this out to be able to help share this amazing story that we're going to cover tonight. And so, Rhys, let's get to know you a little bit. Before we go too deep into the topic and the story, I think it's worth everybody understanding who you are, where you're from, how you kind of roll into this life that you have now of being able to work with software and virtual reality and all that. But there's a big motorsports history too. And so, take several minutes here and just give us some background and help us get to know you a little bit.
Sure. So grew up on a New Zealand sheep and beef farm, which was very steep and in hindsight quite dangerous. We've got a lot of grass slopes. That means that they're slippery. You can get vehicles around them, but you're dealing with quite dynamic conditions and stuff like that. So I think growing up in that kind of environment sort of leads you to vehicles and managing risk and stuff like that from quite early on. Motorsport wise, it probably started when I was trashing farm bikes. Uh, I had a Honda XR200 as one of my first bikes, and ended up with I think cracks in the frame and a blown engine and everything like that from trying to hit jumps and just do 14, 15-year-old kind of stuff. And my father in his wisdom, instead of saying stop trashing the farm bike,
Yeah,
put me on a CR125 motocross bike, and I think introduced me to the local motocross club, the bike club, and I went racing.
very
Uh,
cool.
and sort of had to figure a lot of that stuff out on my own. When we're not a motorsport family, but the community wise in terms of motocross, especially, was really strong. So that kind of kicked me off into that world really.
Very good. And then that continued to evolve into other things too. Were you also involved in like rally racing and stuff as well later on?
Yeah, so the local rally actually came past the gate, and being the confident young guy that I was, like we all are, I'd watch them come past and say, "Oh, I could go faster than that," you know, as, as we do. But yeah, sort of had to be a little bit patient on that one. Went to uni, had to sell the motocross bike,
Yeah,
changed to a little bit of downhill mountain biking,
yeah,
which was like going down a hill. It was like a motocross, but with trees flying past, and I thought
yeah,
those guys were just nuts.
yeah, yeah.
And then, yeah, it wasn't until I was probably mid 20s where I got into the sport of stage racing and rally driving.
That's very cool. And I can only imagine, like, I mean, I've been kind of a motorhead myself my whole life as well too. I've never been a professional racer of any kind. It's always been just, hobbies, but, kind of the quote unquote grudge matches, out on the trails, if you will, trying to one up each other with your friends, doing various things over the years. And snowmobiling has been my thing for a long time. And that's kind of the roots of, my podcast, my show that I do is it's typically snowmobile related, but we have gone into things like this as well, right? ATV related, but heavy safety focus. And I know for all of us, there's some moment or multiple moments that helped us understand that, one, that we're not invincible, and that, we can have close calls, and there's a difference between just getting out there on the track, whether it be on a dirt bike or a rally car, and just going completely, insane crazy and just going after it and having no fear, versus now becoming more educated about how to do it in a way that is safe and respectful for those around you, to make sure that you're not injuring somebody else also. But were there any of those, through your racing careers, close moments for yourself and or people around you that kind of helped inspire this idea of like being safety focused, or this idea of trying to help, make those motorsports a safer place?
Yeah, there's too many.
Pick a
Uh,
favorite. Pick a couple favorites, if you will.
I think across farming, we lost a grandmother when I was in my teens in a road accident that obviously had a big impact on us. Yeah, the rallying really is like such an intense, concentrated experience of life that I tend to go towards those ones. We've had a car that's gone on fire. We've gone. I've crashed a car because we started a stage. I was really stressed,
Yeah.
uh, and sort of working all the way up to that weekend was completely disorganized in terms of having accommodation and stuff set up, and yeah, went into a race really not in the right state, and then had an engine misfire. And as we were going through the stage, I'm distracted. We're listening to pace notes all the time, so that we're getting descriptions of the road. So the concentration really has to be on those.
Yep.
I'm sort of getting distracted by this engine misfire that seems to be happening during corners and stuff, and missed a note, went wide, went up the bank and rolled it, and that was the first stage of an event that we'd travelled a day and a half to get to. I've got to convert things into miles, probably 1,000 miles
Yeah.
to get to. I bended in the first stage. So yeah, you look at those, and you know, it's multifactored, right? There's distractions, there's fatigue, there's stress, there's everything else that's going on. So I think these stories are often quite complex once we start to unpack them, right?
Yeah, and then you just layer on, experience, right? Like as a new driver, a new rider, you're going to have a level of understanding and thoughts around safety and how things work, versus as you gain more and more experience and you've witnessed things that, have gone wrong or almost gone wrong, and you've been able to come back from that, every moment that you get into that next phase of your career, you become a little bit smarter through experience as well too. And I'm sure, all of those experiences, you know, translate also into what we're probably going to pop into next year, is going to be this idea of like technology. Like, how did you find yourself in a position, through whether it be through your career or how it is that, you got into this space, and I'm going to describe it, but feel free to correct me if I'm misspeaking, is the idea that, I'm assuming a software developer or software engineer in the tech space, like help us understand how you evolved into this tech world that you're helping now develop software for virtual reality games and safety programs and stuff that we're working on today. Like that somehow happened along the way too, and we haven't even touched on that yet.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, I was, jumping forward a few years. I was a sheep and beef farmer, and also trying to build up a career in rally and trying to compete at New Zealand level. And as we started to get decent results, I thought, well, we probably have a little bit of a duty here to help young drivers to stay on the road. I mean, we typically learned by crashing into things, and especially on difficult sort of back gravel roads and things. Most of us would, like, if I took you on a drive along that road, I could tell you who crashed on it pretty much each corner,
Yeah.
and there's corners all the way. So yeah, I thought we probably should start doing something around that. I happen to have big open paddocks on the farm, and access to a smaller front wheel drive car. So we started doing a little bit of car control coaching for teenagers, and I thought it was just a good thing to do. I thought it was sort of could bring some value to our sponsors who are helping us sort of compete at the higher levels, and very quickly found out that we couldn't get insurance to do it.
Okay.
So we couldn't get cover because there was a power pole in the paddock, there was a ditch, things like that. There was some risks. So plus we couldn't do it when it was wet, so it became seasonal, and also it didn't scale very well. So I realized, far out, I can put 5 or 10 kids through this program a day for a whole year, and it's not really enough. So around that same time, I was trying to figure out how can we develop better systems, and how can I learn how to drive with pace notes in the rally scene. And I looked at simulation and gaming, and we were trying to use gaming to help with that. And I thought, well, this is a bit of a no-brainer. Why don't we use driving simulation to help with car control for teenagers?
Okay.
And naively, not knowing what I was getting into through that, really.
Yeah. And so like that tells me like the concept of how it became into like virtual reality. But were you already working professionally in some kind of like software development tech space? Was that already your career
No,
path? Like how did you stumble into this, or did you just go meet up with people who were already doing it? Like, I'm not quite making the full connection yet on like how you personally are now involved in this. I think the concept, the idea of how you were going to do it is there, but let's like, how did it actually happen? Did you end
that's
up getting
because
a
it doesn't
job or
make
finding somebody else, or?
that's because it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Fair enough. Help us make it
Uh,
help us make sense of it.
I mean, I spent a couple of years in tech before I went back farming.
Okay.
So there was a little bit there.
Okay.
But when we got into the simulation projects, I didn't know what a GPU was in a computer or anything like that. So
Okay.
uh, probably if I'd known what it was going to take, I wouldn't have done it.
Fair enough.
That naivety was like super useful because I didn't think it would be that hard, you know.
That's awesome.
And then now 10 years later, I'll admit that it's quite hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I knew a couple of guys that were into simulation and stuff like that. So yeah, we looked at different graphics technologies and how we could possibly do it. But yeah, very quickly brought in an experienced software engineer who's been with us the whole time, uh, and he spoke enough English to communicate with me,
Okay.
and I spoke a fraction of software development language. So yeah, Henry was came in from Asia, so yeah, advertised and brought him into the team very early on,
Very cool.
because I was warned by some mentors, do not start writing code, because you go in that right. They knew me well enough to know that I'd go into that rabbit hole and never come out.
That's funny. That's funny. Okay. And so, the team. Tell me about the team that you're surrounding yourself with then too. So like, how many people are on the team? You've mentioned, a couple of guys there specifically. Is it just like three of you, or is there a broader team that you're working with today to do the things that you're doing around the software development?
Yeah, the team is very small for what we're doing,
Okay.
especially across industries and across countries. So yeah, team of 9 at the moment. Um, yeah, typically game developers. So we use game technologies to do what we do, and just apply them in different ways, really. So uh, yeah, that's the team is sort of growing, and it's taken a lot of years and a lot of I guess rabbit holes and detours and a few things that at the time seemed like dead ends, but actually they're just sort of coming around full circle. Is just a case of probably us being a little bit too far ahead of the train.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I mean, we started with driving simulators with screens, like
Okay.
kind of like a racing game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things I was struggling with is that I we needed kids to be able to look over their shoulder,
Okay.
and we looked at wraparound monitors and do we put monitors behind, and it was like, well, none of this is kind of working.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Oculus, it was Oculus at the time, came out with this sort of not even consumer available VR. Just
Yeah.
here's a development kit. So we imported one of the first ocular development kits into New Zealand and started playing with that. And we were like, well, this is really a no-brainer
Yeah.
to adopt this tool. But that's about 9 years ago. Uh, so it's taken a really long time for that technology to stabilize and become mainstream. And
Yeah.
we're probably only hitting like now the stage where we don't have to educate people from scratch on what VR is,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is good. It makes it much easier.
Yeah, so I mean, I think every year that goes by, I mean, the different virtual reality sets that are out there. I know there's different companies making them, but the primary one in the marketplace, at least here in the U.S. and I'm assuming there as well in New Zealand, is that it's the Meta, Quest 3 is the current. It was called Oculus originally. Now I believe it's called Meta Quest 3 is kind of the primary set of goggles that are being used in that software, which is amazing. And so you had to reach out and work to partner with Meta on that specifically. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on like what it took to make that initial connection with Meta to try to get them to allow you to develop the software for their equipment, or how does that process work?
Yeah, I mean that's probably still unfolding. I think Meta should be involved in ATV safety. That'd be great, and especially in skills engagement and stuff like that. That might take a little bit of time. Up until a couple of years ago, we were running HP headsets
Oh, okay.
uh, and rolling out driving simulators through schools with PC based systems, and really finding that scaling up PC based programs and simulations quite difficult. So when the Quest 3 came out, and it like on paper it looked like, oh, this has got a bit of grunt, especially compared to that Quest 2, where you're like, well, why don't we see if our graphics systems will run on this? And they very quickly we did a test and realized yes they will. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
we've been on that path since. And yeah, anything that can simplify the operation, like if we can deliver effectively a training kit or a toolbox in a shoebox, then I don't want to go back to lots of USB cables and you know complicated motor control systems and stuff like that. It's quite refreshing.
Very good. So you and Kristen had gotten connected over LinkedIn, you said, and you'd had conversations that led up to you coming here to Oshkosh, Wisconsin recently for a kind of an expo or a seminar. Do you want to share a little bit about like that invitation and what brought you here, and then talk a little bit about your experience at the Oshkosh expo that you attended, and what's evolving since then, and give us an update on kind of what stage you're at in the process now?
Yeah, it was kind of a case of like, okay, if we're going to do this and we're going to start putting these programs together, what event could we come over to? Because we really wanted to sort of test and understand more and listen. And yeah, it happened that Oshkosh event lined up quite well. So yeah, we kind of committed to building that first program. It was quite a big leap for us. We came in through LA and then flew over to Chicago and drove up to Wisconsin, and yeah, the whole thing was quite an adventure,
I bet.
um, including us having to learn how to drive on the wrong side of the road, uh, which sort of did give us an appreciation of how difficult it is to come in the other way as well.
Yep, exactly.
Um, but yeah, it was great. We found everybody to be like super welcoming and supportive, and just yeah, felt like uh, went home from that event feeling like we had a really good sort of first step. We were lucky enough to go over to Arizona and jump on an X3 Maverick. What are they? X3 Can-Am for a day, and go out into the trails in Arizona. And yeah, that in itself was super interesting. Uh, I think, like with all this kind of all motorsport stuff, it's a case of you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so for us, it's been 5 years operating a Can-Am in a farming environment, and no problems with that. But we would on one of the first days we got taken out for a trip around, and we were going up a riverbed, and the guy Jason Cobb who was driving us around slowed down going under this sort of overpass bridge. And I, what are you doing? And said, what's the story? And he said, oh, if I go fast underneath this bridge, that's going to cloud that highway in dust. Uh, I could cause an accident and be liable, well, effectively liable for, for a head-on kind of accident. And I thought, wow, we wouldn't even have thought of that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's super
So
interesting. Is that there's always some experience and angle when it comes to safety, and I think, one of the things that Kristen specifically is passionate about is the idea of youth safety, right? And I think this is the perfect blend because this technology, video game technology, virtual reality technology is very very attractive to the youth of the world at this point in time. And I know Kristen shared a personal story with me just this week as I talked to her on the phone preparing for this interview. She goes, they were at Heydays, if I remember right, which is one of the largest snowmobile expos in the country, and it was like the last day of this expo, and they finally got the goggles pulled out, and they were kind of messing around with it, and just by having the goggles on and having someone demo it in a booth, all of a sudden they had like a half a dozen kids, maybe a dozen kids coming in, and like all wanting to try it. And so it goes from something where it's like anything in life, right? Like if somebody tells somebody they have to do something that's safety related, think about everybody's job. Like if you have to go to a safety meeting at work, it's the last thing you want to do because in theory it's boring, it's not interesting. It's like, oh, I already know all this stuff. But now you put it in the form of like, virtual reality goggles, and you're attracting the youth, which are the target market for this kind of a tool to be able to focus on ATV safety now is going to be fun and interesting for the youth as they go through this tool and use the tool and use the software. And if you tell somebody they can play a video game to learn how to do something, that's going to be far more interesting than studying in a book or watching a bunch of videos and all those things. And so I think it's a perfect tool to be able to help those who need it the most, right? Because Kristen has shared with me a number of stats. I don't memorize a lot of them, but tons and tons of people who are injured every year, and simply because the required legal age for ATV safety is at 12 years old, and yet
mm,
there's equipment out there that's made for youth even younger than that. Like there's these little 50cc machines that people can ride around with, or somehow some way when somebody's at some family event, some kid is out there riding an ATV around because everybody thinks it's harmless, right? And without that experience, without that knowledge, it's a little bit of playing Russian roulette sometimes, right? Of the idea of getting somebody out there that doesn't have the knowledge and the experience and maybe not the right safety equipment, but by introducing them to a tool like yours, I think that's really going to be a powerful tool, across the world, and for sure here in the U.S.
yeah, I mean, if you boil that down, it's like we learn by fooling around and finding out, right?
Yep.
And I don't think I'm unique in that I don't learn very well from people telling me uh, something important.
Yeah.
And I've been through situations like with tractors and things like that, where for years I've been told, don't go down a hill with a loader on the front and a two-wheel drive tractor, right? And then it's only been as that tractor is sliding down the hill towards a very deep, scary gully that you realize, oh, that's what they're talking about.
Exactly.
So I think, yeah, the cool thing about VR is that we don't have to tell anyone what to do. It doesn't have to come from a place of authority or instruction or anything like that. I mean, some of us are very hard to teach. So if we can provide an environment where someone can really fool around and find out, make decisions, experience consequences, not get hurt, it kind of it replicates the way we already learn, but in a way that doesn't come with physical risk. And I think that's also why we're seeing that virtual reality training is so memorable, and the sort of knowledge retention rates are just so strong compared with traditional training, because I think in some ways we're tricking the mind
Yeah.
into thinking that that just happened,
Yeah.
which means that the emotional side of that happens in the body. So we would say that experiential knowledge building kind of process means that if you feel something in the body, you won't forget it, because it's really the difference between knowing something and understanding it.
Yeah.
And it's only when you understand it, you understand that you can't do that in a certain vehicle, or not having a helmet, has this kind of consequence and outcome, that it sticks. So, yeah, I think in terms of building wisdom and insights and stuff like that, it's amazing because we can actually give someone the wisdom of having operated vehicles for years, even if their experience is limited. The other side of that is that, you know, as we get more experience, then we might have the wisdom for sure, uh, but then complacency creeps in. We're all humans, and we're kind of hardwired to take shortcuts. So Kiwis and New Zealanders especially, we're pretty relaxed, and we sort of rely on this "she'll be right" attitude. And then you get a little wake up calls along the way, hopefully, or things really bite hard. I mean, you can't see it behind me, but I put a set of goggles on a helmet just to remind myself of this. Uh, Last month I'd been doing a lot of hard enduro motocross riding where we don't wear goggles because they fog up and it's too hard. We got back into some faster stuff, and I got a stick in the eye
Ooh.
from not wearing goggles.
Yeah.
And it was like, ooh, that was a little bit close. Uh, Stupidly, I didn't respond to that, and 2 weeks later did the same thing.
Oh my gosh.
Uh, so some of us, some of us need to experience consequences, and sometimes in quite a strong way for it to really stick and to sort of keep us sharp over a longer period of time.
Yeah. Nope. Understood. So let's talk a little bit about kind of like where you're at in the process, right? I mean, you're still in the development stage. You're kind of, I think, kind of sharing the ideas, the concepts. You're going to these expos like you did in Oshkosh to educate people there too. But like, at what point are you in the process, and when will this product potentially come to market and be available? Let's start there, and then we'll go into like who are you going to be trying to get it in the hands of, and then who's the end customer. So we'll kind of take that in steps. But what stage are we at right now in the process?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of these projects, we're building the airplane while it's flying.
Yep.
Right? That's the nature of doing these things. You kind of figure it out as you go. We learn enough from the Oshkosh experience and building that first concept to get a sense of how we're going to do it. Since then, we came home, and it was like a couple of months of, okay, well, how does this look? Like, how do we need to shape this up to sort of present it so that it can be usable? So we're most of the way through what I'd call a first proper version of the program. And that's based around the five red flags, or the sort of five main reasons for serious or fatal accidents around youth ATV operations, ATV and UTV. So the team's been flat out building those scenarios, and starting to sort of package that up and understand how does this need to operate. And the way that's sort of looking is a short, intense event version. We know that VR is a fantastic engagement tool at events, um, and a longer, more comprehensive program that sort of goes into a little bit more detail. So, uh, yeah, the team are just shaping up that at the moment and getting ready to launch that. We'll probably launch that properly at the start of next year.
Okay.
And in the lead up to that, we're sort of fine tuning things, having conversations with people, and so that we know exactly how this is going to need to operate at events, schools, with clubs and things like that.
Yeah, and so the target customer that would essentially be buying the product are organizations who are trying to expose the public to safety, right? It would be like state organizations, clubs, events, expos, that kind of thing. And then the end user, do you feel like the end user is very narrowly targeted into strictly youth, or is this something you think that's going to be like broadly like interesting to all ages, or do you have a very target market specifically as far as an age group?
Yeah, dude, I think kids are the easy one. It's like they already want to do it. They're already asking for those kind of tools. That's not hard. Uh, but I think if we really want to maximize the value of this, we look to probably the helicopter industry.
Oh wow.
So what I really admire about that is the way that ongoing training is really baked into everything they do. Uh, and every time there's an accident, the investigation is so detailed. They pull out all the technical insights, the psychology. How did that unfold? How did that happen? And then they learn from that, and that flows into training programs. So, uh, and it's regular. So there's some guys landed a Black Hawk helicopter at that Oshkosh thing, and
Oh,
like
cool.
for us, that's super cool. So I went and talked to them, and I said, how much training do you need to fly one of these things? And they're like, oh, our training's intense. It's regular. We've got to be constant training just to operate these machines. It was a real boast. Uh, and they're really proud of the fact that of how engaged in ongoing training they were. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, we really don't have that in power sports and UTV operations like that. So that was a bit of an eye opener as to really, if we had the right programs, and not coming from a position of, here's someone who knows better than you and telling you how to do it. Not at all. It's more a case of we've all got stories, near misses, accidents that we can learn from.
Yeah.
If we can dissect what went wrong and package that up into effectively a program or a story or an experience that takes the insight that person painfully went through and set it up so that it's something that we can all engage with, then we all sort of build knowledge and skills and we learn together. And I think, like, I know that's a massive vision, to say, like, can we actually shift the culture so that we're all growing together and continually learning.
Yeah.
Um, but I think with the right tools and positioned in the right way, it could be really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's in the snowmobile world, just like in ATV world, is there's youth safety trainings, and so I don't know if it's even on your radar yet or not, but I would tell you that a fast follow once you have a successful launch in this ATV space. I think it's worth exploring. Like, how can we incrementally add this to the snowmobile space, right? Because there's youth safety seminars that are going on all over the country, um, almost identical to the way the ATV programs work around the country too. And so, as you're ready for that phase of the process, between myself and Kristen and John Miller, who's here supporting you as well, just tap us on the shoulder, and we'll try to get you connected with all the right people if and when that's a goal of yours.
Well, I think first you're gonna have to put me on a snowmobile.
I
Uh,
think we can
you
make
know,
that happen. I think we can make that happen.
yeah, that's to me, it's like that's I've never done anything like that. I mean, we have snow in the mountains
Yeah,
in the winter, but yeah, I think the more we get into these kind of programs, the more we've got to have a really deep understanding of the physics and the psychology and the environmental factors and everything like that. So,
yep,
uh, yeah, the only way for us to really understand that is get immersed in it, and also just start hearing the stories. And for us, it's about how do we build that experience up. It is an environment, a vehicle, sometimes a series of decisions that led to that.
yeah,
So yeah, I think the really exciting thing is that this is becoming a platform for us all to contribute our own effectively war stories and then distribute them away so that we can all tap into that, the painful experiences of some.
yeah. No, absolutely. And I think John Miller called it out here. He says, avalanche education modules or training modules for avalanche education could be a huge aspect of it too, where, put somebody in a scenario of a real avalanche, being triggered an avalanche, and to be able to do it virtually and experience the wall of snow coming down at you and being pummeled through the trees, and, having that vibration of your goggles getting shaken through the snow, like, and what it would be like to, have it go dark and black on you. Like, to experience that in a virtual reality setting could be really eye-opening for folks to realize, like, man, let's go in and go deeper and get the education, the training that's there. And so, it's really cool. I think the platform is awesome, and I think, yeah, I mean, it's getting it introduced in the way you're doing it now is perfect. And as we expose you here to all the different people that might find uses for it in the future, I think it's going to be an amazing journey that you're going to be on for quite a while here. So,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that comes with a little bit of caution, in that it's so immersive and so engaging that actually the risk is that there's trauma. So on the helicopter side, they started using VR. Locally, there's a $2 million helicopter simulator just not far from here.
Yeah.
And in talking to those guys, they started using virtual reality instead of screens, and it was too scary. So
Oh wow.
it's too immersive, and I guess falling out of the sky because of certain actions is like a worst nightmare.
Yeah, yeah.
And the guys were living out their worst nightmare in VR and finding that so traumatic they didn't want to get back in a chopper.
Oh wow.
So I think with like super powerful, and I'm just thinking about that the avalanche side of things. And look, I know nothing about snow dynamics, so I'm gonna make a rookie mistake, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna experience that.
Yep.
Um, we have to manage that experience a little bit, because if it's if it's so powerful that in my mind and my body I just went through a near fatal accident, I'm not going back on the snow. Yeah, you
Well,
won't
that's
get me
the
back out there. So
that's the reality of a real avalanche as well. Like those who get caught in a real avalanche, there's many who they choose never to go back out in the snow. Reality, and I think a virtual reality experience hopefully would be enough to get people to at least go out and understand that they need to get the training on the snow with a professional versus the idea of like, oh, I'll just go out there, I'll be fine, right? Again,
yeah,
ignorance is bliss is a famous line that I use many times when it comes to all of these safety aspects. It's like, we think we're fine because we don't know any different, we don't know any better, but once we get to experience it, now we've put that little memory in our head, and now we don't have an excuse. Now we have to go forward. As I think you said,
yeah.
you don't have a choice. You have to move forward in a way that is meaningful. So,
Well, yeah, and then I mean that's how you find out what you don't know, is put yourself in that environment.
yep,
Um, yeah, I think there's ways to manage that trauma risk. I mean, one of the
yeah,
things that the team have come up with recently is that rather than put really human characters into those scenarios, the characters that we're using now are wood,
okay,
which seems a little bit out there, but it means that the team can bash the characters around a little bit. You can kind of do things if you dehumanize it enough that there's still a cringe. Like you see I guess someone roll a quad bike without a helmet, and it's
yeah,
still you still feel that as a ooh that that kind of hurts, but
yeah,
it's dehumanized enough that it's not trauma generating. So
yeah. That's
it's
fair.
it's it's quite a delicate line to say, like, what's the right balance? How intense this should this be?
Yeah,
I mean, I've had people trying to convince people to wear seatbelts, right? And they've said, "Can you just throw that? Can you throw the virtual body through the windscreen and have it land on the road in front of the car?"
you
And I'm like,
could.
"Yeah." I said, "We could do that." And I said, "But you're wanting to rent cars to people, right? And you want them to understand the importance of seatbelt. Like that's a good thing, but you do want them to actually still rent a car."
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's that old saying, with great power comes great responsibility. So,
100%.
it's certainly not lost on us, and the actual precision of what's designed is quite important. The Defense Force talks about negative training
Yeah,
and the risk of, if you design this in the wrong way or it doesn't match the physics of real life, you're actually setting someone up to fail. So I'm kind of I'm grateful that we've been doing this for 8, 9, 10 years, just to understand that it comes with quite a bit of responsibility.
that's yeah, no, amazing. Is there anything else tonight that you haven't covered that you want to cover? I think the things that I still have in my mind, I know that we're going to share with everybody where they can follow you, whether it be on social media, where they can learn more. If you have a website, we'll cover that here at the end. But is there any part of this story, the process, the product that you're creating that we haven't told the story yet that you want to make sure you work in?
Look, I think I want to build on that idea that we can all contribute to this.
Okay.
Uh, so I know that there's people out there who have had near misses in vehicles and ATVs side by sides, or not even near misses, incidents. Uh, and I know that they're sitting there thinking, if everybody had learned what I learned through this, it would be a game changer in terms of protecting someone from going through the same pain that I have.
Yeah, very true.
So I'd sort of invite anyone to share those insights with us. I mean, we're not going to turn around and build that into a scenario and
Yeah,
put people's names and anything like that. But
yeah.
it is a chance to contribute to the design and the architecture of something that can provide something pretty powerful for others.
Gotcha. And are you looking for experiences or situations specific to ATVs and side by sides, or any other scenarios at this point?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of our US stuff, our focus is on ATVs and side by sides, partly because it's what we know. We've got sort of that deep experience in these kind of vehicles, which helps a lot. Um, but in other countries, we're off to Australia this week to meet with the mining industry, ongoing learner driver programs. Yeah, New Zealand as well. We're continuing with ATV and UTV safety. So it's a little bit broad. I mean, yeah, it really doesn't matter. It might be a few years before we turn that story into a scenario if it's in a different vehicle operation or sport. But yeah,
Gotcha.
I want us to see people I want people to see us as a platform over time, a platform that can sort of break through that traditional resistance
Yeah.
to I guess learning or anything like that.
Yep.
Especially those of us who struggled at school and didn't actually like to be in any kind of environment which feels like a teacher and student
No.
relationship, right?
No. Absolutely.
Uh,
Well, I'm sure people who are listening have got these kind of experiences, and I know Kristen firsthand. Like, Kristen is her world is all around this ATV space, and so I know she'll be able to share with you all kinds of people who have had stories that she has been told and heard. At the point that you get into the snowmobile world at all, I for sure. I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years now, and we've told all kinds of stories about people who have gone off trail, come in contact with a tree, and have lost limbs, right? Like they've lost an arm or a leg as part of an accident that was super severe. People who've been in avalanches, but other collisions and accidents. I personally have had a few different, incidents over the years too with snowmobiling where, I have a compression fracture in my back because of a silly incident that happened to me probably. I think it was 2000. What year was it? 2004. It was fall of 2004. I had an accident where, I hit a ditch, if you will, and it caused me to go cartwheeling on my snowmobile and ended up with a compression fracture in my back and was alone. So there's so many stories out there that you need to tap into at some point. For sure, the snowmobile world is something I can help with, but outside of that, ATV wise, guarantee you somebody who'll be watching the show tonight can send you a message and share some thoughts too. So.
yeah. So in that snowmobile experience, did you know? Are you able to go back and see the steps that led to that? Like, how preventable was it in your mind?
All of it, right? I mean, that's the thing is there's very few. Let me think about this for a minute, right? Because there are accidents where other people are the cause of the accidents, like like traffic accidents, very much. Typically, somebody is at fault, but in many cases too, though, that other people, if you were just a little bit slower at the light or whatever, or if you were a little bit more observant, you could have maybe avoided somebody else who was coming at you. It was out of your control, but most of the time when you're in a motorsports accident with a ATV, a motorcycle, a snowmobile, anything like that, in my mind, 99% of the time, it's an accident that we have created ourselves. And avalanche scenarios is the same thing. It's like, when you go back and if you watch that episode I watched last week, there was multiple points in the story where if they had paid attention to the red flags that were being shown to them, in hindsight, it was crystal clear. In the moment, it was this idea of like it just didn't catch them right. Like they didn't think of it as like, oh, that's a sign that I shouldn't do this, even though the writing was on the wall. That like, I mean, they literally had seen an avalanche that had happened the day before that somebody else was dug out of from a skiing incident. Like they
Right.
drove across that to get to the area that they were going to go ride and then triggered their own avalanche. Like that's the biggest red flag you can have in an avalanche scenario. Like there's no other giant stop sign that ever comes to you other than that, and that still is something that in the moment they just subconsciously ignored it.
I think that we actually underestimate how powerful that idea of, yeah, but it won't happen to me is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's in,
It's
in the
it's
avalanche
it's so
education world,
strong.
they call it the human factor, right? It's like when the stoke, call it the stoke. You understand the term the stoke, right? Is that a New Zealand term,
I
right?
get a sense
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like, when the stoke is high and you're just the adrenaline is running and you're going after that adrenaline rush, like sometimes our brains shut off, right? And we make really bad, stupid decisions, right? And I can give you an example of a traffic accident that I witnessed where a 19-year-old man in a Jeep Cherokee did not take the time in the morning to let his window defrost. And so he started driving down the road with a window that had, fog on the window. He didn't have good visibility. He comes around a corner about a block from his house and he runs over a little old lady who is going across the crosswalk in the dark. It was 6 a.m. in the morning. It's dark out. He can't see very well. She's wearing dark clothes and he literally runs her over. It changes his life. That lady loses her life. Like two lives are ruined there immediately just because of something that in hindsight, oh my gosh, had I waited 5 more minutes to let my car window defrost, and that's something that I live with every day. Like I still have that memory of witnessing that accident and being one of the first people on scene to help try to rescue that lady, and it was too late for her. And so those
yeah,
things, like when you experience that and you see something happen, it's like, yeah, you will never allow yourself to make that mistake again. Like for me in a traffic accident, it was like a left turn, like in the U.S., like U.S., we're all driving, so just keep this in mind.
yeah,
I'm talking
Flip,
about the
flip
U.S.
around the other
traffic
way.
patterns, but like a very common accident is a left turn at a major intersection where the traffic coming from my left is maybe in a right turn lane where they're going to turn to where I'm coming from, and it's a large
Mhm.
vehicle. And
Right.
that large vehicle is blocking the view of other vehicles that are coming from behind it. And that happened to
Gotcha.
me when I was like 18 years old or 17 years old. I was making a left-hand turn. I started to pull out, and a vehicle came out from behind an RV, a large RV, and it hit me, T-boned me, right? So the front of my car got hit. I spun around the opposite way. To this day, now 40, 30 plus years later, I will never ever get to an intersection where I don't have complete crystal clear visibility. And if there's anybody blocking that, even if I'm 100% confident that there's nobody behind that RV or that school bus, I still wait. I still sit there and wait at that intersection, right? And so these are
Wow.
the things you're talking about. It's like if you can experience them and have that, like, oh my gosh, like that'll never happen again because that was too close of a call or the close call became an
Where would
actual
you
accident.
where would you say that experience exists?
What do you mean exactly? Like just in your head, you mean? Or,
Well, it's like even when you're talking about it, I can tell that it exists in the body.
oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
uh, and you're describing it as if it happened yesterday, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you get this crystal clear vision. It's you immediately are brought back to those moments in time when you have those very traumatic incidents in your lives.
Yeah, I think that's I think that actually describes really well what we're trying to do is
Yep, exactly.
to keep those present. But you're probably not approaching that intersection or that scenario from a place of fear, but just very conscious awareness, right?
Hyper awareness. Yep, hyper awareness.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's kind of cool. I think we can if we can do that, then it's kind of like you go through that scenario once, and that experience and that memory sort of continues forever. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that latest research is saying that the knowledge retention after a year is still 80 to 90%,
Yeah. Amazing.
which is mind blowing because I don't remember anything from 5 seconds ago. You know?
Awesome. Well, tell us all where we can learn more about what you're doing through social media and websites. Like, give us some links, give us some pages and stuff that we can follow. And then once the show is done, you can go into the comment section and include those as well too. You can drop those in there. So
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, professionally, the easiest way to follow me at the moment is through LinkedIn. I should be reasonably easy to find on there. Similar with Facebook. New Zealand companies are classically bad at doing world class stuff and not telling anybody, uh, especially in the city of Dunedin where we're from. There's just so many sort of secret companies that's too secret. So yeah, we'll try and share a lot more about what we're doing. We're just kicking out the G Factor Sports Facebook page back up, and yeah, the more sort of examples we can share, I think that'll unfold. It's just a case of us. You know, we've been working in a cave for 10 years, effectively. sort of figuring all this out. And I think we've finally got it to a position where it's like, yeah, okay, it seems like we kind of know what we're doing sometimes, you know.
Perfect. Perfect. And then who do you want to share some gratitude with tonight? Like, are there people around you, whether it be the team that you're working with on, the software engineers, the people you're working with, Kristen, like anybody else who has helped you get to where you're at today and who you know are going to be helping you coming forward? Like any thank yous or shout outs you want to give to anybody as a sign of gratitude?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like Kristen especially. I mean, yeah, that really was life changing to hear that story and to have that openness and almost sharing the grief, which is able to move things forward. At our team for sure. I mean, we've been through lots of twists and turns together, and like it's a really a process of figuring this out over time. Uh, Family and extended family who has sort of been with us doing this kind of stuff for a long time, for sure. Uh, and yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot more people that I'm forgetting. You know, even having my father on board and actually learning more and more about some near misses and incidents in agriculture with ATVs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just as you get into it, you realize that there's just more and more. Uh, we're all libraries of near misses and accidents that we don't tell anybody about, and so they never go anywhere.
Nope, absolutely, 100% true. So, okay.
And also thanks to the RideSafe Foundation and that extended team, as you say, John Miller and Jason Cobb. I mean, we arrived in Arizona and then went out to Wickerburg, right?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that area.
And sort of knocked on the door of an off-road racers workshop, and he said, "Okay, what do you want?" And he sat down and took the time to listen to us, and then gave us an
Yeah,
X3 to take out exploring, and
that's awesome.
and then we were actually stuck, so he ran us back into Phoenix to fly out. So
Very good.
just yeah, really appreciate all those connections that we made and continue to make.
Awesome. Well, at the point that you need to do some hands-on research for the next phase of your snowmobile training and education, you hit me up. You hit John Miller up. One of the two of us will absolutely make sure you get out on the snow, and we'll take you out for a thing. I have an extra snowmobile in my shed that I can take you out on, and so I'm sure we can set you up with some riding gear, get you set up on some equipment, and let you have what likely is going to be one of the best experiences you'll ever have in your life on any kind of motorsport. So
Oh, that's a big call. Yeah,
it is. I'm telling you though, it's like I've done off-roading with jeeping, I've done ATVing, I've ridden motorcycles, dirt bikes, I've ridden jet skis, I've ridden ATVs. There is nothing that compares to the sensation you get. Like if you're a skier, if you've ever done downhill skiing in epic deep
yeah, a little bit.
powder,
Yeah.
that sensation you get of just floating and like you're on a cloud, you can do it with, 160 horsepower, 180 horsepower machine, and you can go uphill, you can go downhill, you can go through the, areas that and it's like it's a whiteboard, right? Like when you're on a dirt bike or a rally car, you're designated on a trail, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
just roam freely everywhere. A jet ski, you can roam freely, but you're limited to the surroundings of a lake. On a snowmobile, you have open terrain in the area that you're in that is almost unlimited, and you can, it's like taking a pencil and just drawing a line on a white sheet of paper. You can go almost anywhere you want to go as long as you have the skills to pull it off. So it's quite an experience. It's still to this date my absolute favorite power sport is mountain snowmobiling. So
Interesting. And you're coming into winter, right?
yeah, we're just coming into it. So just today, the Snoqualmie Pass, which is about an hour from my house, just got its first dusting of snow of the season today, and so that means it's coming soon. Over the next month here, we should start to get some more snow that we can actually start riding on. So
Okay, well, I'm trying to get over sometime in November, December. So, yeah, we better do that, eh?
awesome. Yeah, the later it is, the better. Like December will be much better than November. November is still touch and go as far as maybe not. It could be enough snow, but usually by December we've got enough to come out and ride on. So
Fantastic. Yeah, sounds super exciting.
yeah, stay in touch and let's make it happen. So awesome.
Cool.
Any final words? Otherwise, we can let you go.
Look, I mean, it's a serious topic, and Kristen obviously talk about the numbers and everything like that. For us, you know, one, one is too many.
Amen.
So it's a case of let's let's get together and do something about this. Yeah, we're sort of excited and certainly committed. So appreciate the time to catch up, John.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I appreciate it as well. And I think I'm going to wrap up by letting everybody who maybe doesn't already know what I tell everybody live large means. And live large is live life to the fullest, make the most of every day, and make a difference to others. And Rhys, you are a man that is doing all of those things. You're living an adventure, you're making the most of all the opportunities you get and put in front of you, and you're 100% making a difference to other people through your lifetime. And so God bless you. I appreciate you being here, and thank you everybody else. Have a good night. Rhys, you can hang on. I'll talk to you here in just a second, so just hang tight. Thank you everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks.